Welcome back to Cityline. With me, I have easily one of my favorite people. And people go, but Amanda, everybody's your favorite. Well, I do have favorites, but then I have echelons. And this man is right at the top. I'm talking about
Oh man,
Mike Yoder, who is the executive director of Associated Ministries. Welcome back to Cityline.
thank you so much. Always a joy to be with you, Amanda.
It's great to be with you. So, whew, these have been extremely trying times for many nonprofits. Whether you are somebody who runs in those circles, is a part of those teams, receives services from nonprofits, or just somebody who has a heart for nonprofits, it's difficult right now. There's not a whole lot of relief. So, my question for you, first off, is how are things going for you and for this amazing team at Associated Ministries? How you
Yeah.
guys doing? How you hanging in there?
Thank you for asking. And it means the world when people in the community think to ask us that, how we're doing. And, thankfully, a lot of our friends and supporters in the community have really shown up for us. We have had people that have, a lot of people have sent us a $1,200 donation a few months back. And it's like, I think they sent us their stimulus check. I mean, what a beautiful gift. They're saying, I'm safe at home. I have my resources covered. I'm sure an organization like Associated Ministries on the front line with some of our community's most vulnerable people could probably put this to use better than I. And so there has been an outpouring of support along that regard that has just been, it literally has buoyed our spirit to keep going in a time like this. And, it's hard work. I mean, we're dealing in normal times with people in one of the biggest traumas of their lives, facing homelessness. Where am I going to sleep tonight? That's a traumatizing time of life to have to interact with somebody. And I think in normal times, my staff has to work really hard on self-care just to not be re-traumatized on an ongoing basis by those that they're coming alongside on a daily basis. So it's tough work. It's hard work for our team, as it is in many areas. People in the mental health fields and in all kinds of caring fields really have to work on self-care in normal times. And now that they're working from home and isolated and dealing with their own family situations and stress on top of trying to continue to do this work, as you can imagine, it's been tough times. And we work in the homeless system, which is disproportionately affected for people of color. And so that's that whole racial equity and systemic racism aspect to life just really, really impacts us in our work in the housing and homeless spectrum. A lot of my caseworkers are people of color. So our whole, national reckoning with racial justice is another overlay on our work in our whole community right now. So it's tough. We're making it. The team is holding forth. We're doing everything we can to try to keep our staff together as a community and invest in their well-being. And our board of directors took up a little collection and sent every single staff member a $50 Grubhub gift certificate just so our staff members could have a meal out. I mean, what a beautiful thing that our board did just to support our staff. And so those kinds of things, when the check arrives in the mail saying, you can use this more than we, or here's a way to have a meal, just to have a break, from all the responsibilities you have, trying to keep this work going, doing it from home. Those things mean a lot, and they're sustaining us, but it's tough. I will tell you.
You painted that so beautifully. And as you know, it's been said that one should never waste a challenge or a struggle. So when you think about some of the things that you or your team are learning
Yes.
because of this work in the pandemic, what comes to mind?
Well, of course, when we closed our office way back on March 17th, seems so long ago now, we have reopened when we went to phase 2 in the meantime. But when we closed the office and everybody had to go to remote work, we were wondering how, we could serve clients effectively. Would we be able to come alongside? Our assumption was, and out of a sense of wanting to honor and provide dignity to our clients, we always felt that we needed to walk hand in hand in person with them. And could we really provide the touch and the connection that we wanted to when we're walking with somebody in a homelessness crisis, if we just did it over the phone? Come to find out, talk about learning, there are many people in that time of crisis in their lives that actually prefer to connect by phone. It's easier for them. There's one less thing for them to navigate, how to get over here and meet with us at Associated Ministries or all over the community. We meet people, in shelters and places of need. But even to get to those places sometimes is just one more burden, when you're in a trying time of your life. And to be honest, I think people oftentimes are concerned about how they're going to show up. Am I going to present well? Am I going to say or do something or look in a certain way that I may not get a fair shake? Of course, that wouldn't happen with our team because we're treating everybody equally. But that's a fear that the clients have when coming in to see us. And to be able to do it with one more level of anonymity over the phone, they actually feel much more, much better served. So honestly, one of the things we learned is that what we thought was just something that wouldn't be so great may actually be a preferred method of service delivery for our clients. So we may always have some phone screening appointments available, even when we're 100% back to normal, and not just assuming that a clients want to come in here and talk to us face to face. So that's just a tiny little example that really early on we learned. That's what I really, really hope all of us in our community is learning. What did we have to figure out?
Yes.
When we had to do something different really quickly, but we say actually, we're working pretty successfully in this new way, or this new intervention that we've layered in to try to, keep people safe or sheltered or whatever, that worked so well. How can we continue to prioritize funding to continue that service that we added as an emergency during a pandemic, but we now realize that's something really important that we've got to figure out. That's one of the things I want to talk about today, which is one of those is rental assistance. All of a sudden, we have figured out a fund, funds to do rental assistance. We've never had that for many. There has been some rental assistance here and there over the years, but now all of a sudden, through the Federal CARES Act funds that are coming into the county and the state, we all of a sudden in Pierce County, Washington, in the year 2020, have a large new resource available to offer rental assistance for people who are, at imminent danger of losing their housing. We've never had that type of prevention funding before, and it is something we can't go back. We can't not have that resource because it is the primary thing that is stabilizing our community from having mass exoduses into homelessness right now, the availability of this new funding.
And with the it does such good news because with the moratorium kind of
right
there right now, October 12th, and we're all just, at least I am, constantly checking the news, talking with my people, because the way that this could go could be detrimental. It's really, really eye-opening. So let's talk about, because you have a legacy of, and you being Associated Ministries, of serving people of faith and goodwill in this community. You also have a community quarterly meeting that I want to talk about, because I think that's important as we address housing. So tell us about this meeting and how can we attend?
Yeah, that's, I think for most of your viewers, I mean, I'm sure some of the people that are watching today, would want to take advantage of the rental assistance program, and they can go to the county's website to find out. There's 14 different agencies. It's not all about Associated Ministries. We actually have one of the largest pools of resources available. So we'd love to talk to people, but go to the county to be connected to that rental assistance resource if you need that. But if you're like most of our supporters and probably most of your viewers, they're just saying, how else do I become informed? How do I stay involved? How can I make a difference? And so we have next week on Thursday, the 17th, our next community quarterly meeting. We've been holding these meetings in person for a couple of years, not doing that right now. So we're having our first ever virtual community quarterly meeting via Zoom. Go to our website, associatedministries.org, and look for the community quarterly meeting link and sign up. That's how you'll get the Zoom link, completely free of charge, of course. And we're going to meet next Thursday, the 17th at 5 for an hour. And basically, it is an online, it's an energizing space that we convene online for people who care about homelessness, with the latest news, ideas, what's happening, how you can get involved. So it really is a space. I encourage people who care about housing and homelessness to show up and have questions answered, be informed, and I hope, be inspired with some things that they can make a difference. We're going to have Duke Paulson from the Rescue Mission talking about the new women's shelter and ways that you can get involved through the great work they're doing down there. Mark Merrill from Shared Housing Services is going to show up. He's a great guy. I think you've had him on. Home sharing is one of the key ways ahead right now in terms of housing people in kind of unique situations. And then Erica Esueta from the city of Tacoma is also going to be on, and she's going to talk about the new tiny house village that the city has set up and answer all kind of questions about where the city of Tacoma is at in this crisis. So I think this is a not to be missed meeting next Thursday.
I think you're right. And of course, I've saved the biggest question for last year. So get out your crystal ball. So what do you think is on the horizon in the areas of housing and homelessness?
Yeah. So you just mentioned the eviction moratorium that we have in effect in the state of Washington through the middle of October. Good news this morning that from out of Washington, D.C., we'll take anything we can get that's good news out of Washington, D.C. The CDC has recommended an eviction moratorium nationally through December 31st. So they've actually just sent down a ruling that for financial reasons due to COVID, landlords can no longer evict somebody for purely financial reasons through the end of the year. So that's really good news in terms of stabilizing communities in place. Now, people will still owe their rent. I mean, landlords have to be compensated for the housing that they're providing to people. But thankfully, as I also mentioned earlier in this segment, we have a big rental assistance pool. So people can be stabilized in their housing through the eviction moratorium. They can work with agencies, Associated Ministries, and many others in Pierce County to get rental assistance. To get qualified for rental assistance, those payments go directly to their landlords to keep the landlords whole, while the landlords keep their tenants whole by keeping them in place in their housing. And so those are good news, but those all end December 31st. So I just keep raising a little bit of a caution flag that we have some cliffs. We have some huge cliffs coming up. And right now, they're on December 31st with the end of the federal eviction moratorium and the end of the CARES Act funding. So all this rental assistance funding that has flowed into our community, it must be spent by December 31st with currently no additional resource in the pipeline to cover people's needs starting January 1st. So that's when the tsunami tidal wave of evictions and new exits to homelessness could happen, unless the community rises up and says, this has been a good thing. This is a valuable thing. This is something we need to invest in for, the health and safety and wholeness of our community. Rental assistance and eviction moratoriums must continue through the winter. And so that's what people can be advocating for elected leaders and in other places so that we can keep these things going. Otherwise, if they just drop off on December 31st, unfortunately, in the crystal ball, I would foresee a crisis of epic proportions of homelessness right in the middle of winter, starting after January 1st. We can't let that happen. Let that happen.
We cannot let that happen. So as my grandmother says, as tomorrow's promised to no one, we're going to take this one day at a time. And Mike, you are so inspiring, you and your team. There's always heartfelt, uplifting, safe conversations that come out of your organization. And I thank you so much for the next quarterly meeting on September 17th. I'm going to sign up.
Right.
Everybody needs to sign up so we're all a part of the solution. So Mike, thank you so much for being here today.
As always, thank you.
To you and your team, and I'll see that fabulous face on the 17th.
right? We receive that well wishes. It means, like I said before, so much to us. And we're going to stay right here on the front lines doing everything we can to just help the well-being of our neighbors in greatest need.
Absolutely. I'm there with you. All right. We have much more to come on Cityline. Ocean Fest is coming up. You don't want to miss that. We'll be right back.